Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Welcome to The Ray Taylor Show, where I bring you the reviews on the latest movies and TV shows, as well as classic and foreign films. I'm your host, Ray Taylor, and on this podcast, I'll be talking about all things film and television. Whether you're looking for a new show to binge, like the one I'm talking about today, or want to know if that blockbuster is worth a trip to the theater, or just want to hear my thoughts on a classic or foreign film, I've got you covered. So join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for new episodes, and let's dive into the world of film and television together. On today's episode, I will be talking about the TV series called Jury Duty. Came out this year, 2023, created by Lee Eisenberg and Gene Stupnitsky. It is on the network known as Freevee, and if you're not familiar with that network, it is a free streaming platform that is available through Amazon Prime. Basically, if you have Amazon Prime, Freevee is on there, and it's similar to the other free streaming options like a Tubi or Plex or Pluto TV, where you get ads. But it's all free. You don't have to subscribe to anything. And it's a great show, so, which I'll talk about, obviously. But if you're worried about it, chances are you have Amazon Prime. And if you do, you have access to Freevee. And this show is on that. The only show I know that's worth checking out on that service. But there might be some movies on there that you want to check out. And the only star, really, of this show is James Marsden. But there are a lot of other actors that have been in a lot of other things, but primarily James Marsden is the only real star of this show. But he is not the focus of this show, because this show follows the workings of an American jury trial through the eyes of Ronald Gladden, who is a juror who is unaware that the entire case is fake, and everyone except him is an actor. And everything that happens is carefully planned. I heard about this a few separate ways, few separate times. I've heard good things about this show. It was recommended on separate podcasts that I listened to by different people. And it's a show, because I kept hearing it being brought up and recommended as being good, and obviously having access to it, I checked it out. It also sounded very interesting. The premise was very interesting. And the show itself was a very fun show to watch. Very heartwarming, very funny, great characters. And I would definitely recommend it. It is a fun, easy watch. Only 8 episodes. Each episode is less than 30 minutes. So you can burn right through it. It's a fun show. The premise is that everyone is an actor except for one guy. Very similar to a reality type show that existed in the early 2000s called Joe Schmo. But I never really watched that show, so I don't know how much it compares to that show. I think it was called Joe Schmo Show, right? But it was a show where everybody was an actor except for one guy, and is similar to this one. But this one is great because not only is Ronald just kind of the perfect centerpiece to be the one non-actor in this crazy situation. He's a very average guy, kind of a good sport to go along with everything, very positive and helpful. But the show is very similar in a lot of ways to great sitcom shows, like these doc-style shows that were popular in the early 2000s. Like The Office or Parks and Rec. So you're kind of getting those types of vibes, but it's a show about a jury duty, these different jurors. So you get a collection of random people, and each of the actors that play the different jurors are all interesting and funny characters in and of themselves. Just like in the show Office, where all the different people that work in this office are all interesting and unique type of characters. So all of that, and it's almost more of like a show like The Office, but imagine if one of the employees, one of the new hires, was a real person that didn't know he was on a show. Where there's like literally scenes that are filmed that Ronald doesn't even have, is not witnessing, but they're filmed because it's still part of the show that we are watching as the audience. So I really enjoyed it, and the fact that it's positive, kind of uplifting and happy type of a show, it's a great upbeat show to put on and burn through. And the premise is super interesting, right? You can't help but think of how you would act in Ronald's shoes a lot of times. Obviously, at least I did that. And I don't know anybody who likes jury duty. Don't know a single person that likes jury duty. However, Ronald seems pretty stoked to be getting on jury duty. But he also thinks that, I mean, there are cameras there where he does think that he is being part of a documentary that's being filmed about the jury duty process, where he sits in front of and does interviews similar to The Office, where you have the characters of The Office, like in the office, talking to a camera one-on-one, talking about, their little confessional moments. So he does know on some level that he's being filmed, but the amount that he's being filmed, and of course the scenarios that are all set up and manufactured for him to be in, are a lot of fun as well. But, and my only one time showing up to jury duty was, like, so stressful. It was like, first you're in this like giant room where everybody that gets called in, and then they only call a certain amount of people. I was one of the people that called in, where then you go in this smaller group of people where they assign you to a case, and if you don't get assigned to a case, then you just go home. But they give like a smaller group of people go to a case, and then you go to a courtroom, and then you one by one get like asked by the different lawyers there some questions, and they dismiss you or keep you. And when they asked me, I forget exactly what the question was, but it was a situation where whatever their question was inspired me to answer them with a story of a time I worked at Blockbuster and was held up at gunpoint with my supervisor, had a gun pressed to my forehead, and then later taken back into the office and then put in the bathroom while my supervisor, I could see through the crack of the bathroom door, was put on his knees, forced to his knees in front of this safe with the gun that was at my forehead now to the back of his head, and freshly cocked as he's unwilling to open the safe because he's a young kid. Like, I was 21 at the time, and he was probably 18, because that's what Blockbuster employed as supervisors at the time. And this was my second job, so that's why I wasn't the supervisor. But he's on his knees trying to be like this hero, and the guy robbing the place, one of the two guys that were robbing the place with the gun, cocked the gun, put it to the back of his head. Finally, the supervisor opened the safe, and they left. And the first thing the owner of Blockbuster asked, right? Our manager came in when he found out. He cared. He was worried about our safety. He called the owner. The first thing the owner said on the phone when our manager told him that we just got robbed at gunpoint was, "What did they take?" Needless to say, I didn't work at Blockbuster much longer after that, and needless to say, Blockbuster as a business didn't survive. But that is just kind of where I was at when I was being interviewed for this jury duty thing. And maybe I have a special kind of perspective on what it feels like to be robbed at gunpoint, which I think this case had something to do with somebody being robbed at gunpoint. So I was immediately let go. And of course, when I'm telling this story, I was nervous. For one, just speaking in front of people I don't know, and then also talking about the story that and I never got treatment for that. So it's probably the first time I had actually said what happened to me out loud, and it's to a bunch of people in a courtroom that I didn't know. So that's my only experience with jury duty, versus something like this, which seemed like a lot of fun. Like, this would be the jury I would want to be part of. But so that's my only one thing. So I can't imagine showing up, especially to something like this, where it's like the case that these people are on a jury for to decide is a civil case where a business owner is suing an employee who passed out at work, and it's a job that made like clothing, and he was at a station where they screen printed shirts, and because he passed out, the machine just kept printing shirts, and he got buried under the shirts and defecated himself, and like the machine broke down, right? All of this stuff obviously fake too, but that's the story that that Ronald, as one of the jurors, is being told. And because what's his face, James Marsden is there, and because he set up a situation to make it seem like the paparazzi was after him, the judge decides to sequester the jurors in order to make sure they don't have to deal with these paparazzi or whatever. Which sets up the reason how this production can have control over Ronald, right? He's not going home. He can't go online or he can't like turn on Parks and Rec and see that one of the jurors is actually an actor who was on Parks and Rec, or turn on Reservation Dogs because one of these actors, Kirk Fox, who's also a stand-up comedian, plays one of the jurors. And that's the only other actor I recognize except for James Marsden. But like obviously they want to, kind of sequester him for the show. So it's an interesting kind of situation. The people were fun, interesting. And putting myself in Ronald's shoes, there's a situation where I could easily just been upset that I was chosen for this thing that I have to miss like 2 weeks of work. I've never been in a situation where I could just not like go to work for 2 weeks. So I could have been easily like quiet and withdrawn and just upset and angry. But there's also a chance where, because these people are fun and nice, I could have warmed up to them and just had a lot of fun with it. So it's a weird situation to put myself in the shoes of, because I think honestly and realistically, I'd be very pissed off to be chosen for a jury and then also to find out that James Marsden is the reason why. I would probably be talking a lot of shit. Like, even if I warmed up to him, I would be talking a lot of shit to him. Because that's just kind of what I do in situations that I'm not happy with somebody. I will find passive-aggressive ways to kind of jokingly make my opinions and thoughts known without directly saying them. But it was a fun show to kind of watch and put yourself in the shoes of. So all that's great. Let's take a quick break from this episode to talk about Attention all Ray Taylor Show fans! We're excited to announce we've just released a line of exclusive merchandise featuring original artwork inspired by the show. Our high-quality shirts and biodegradable phone cases are a perfect way to show your support for the show and make a great gift for any fan. Plus, with each purchase, you'll be helping us continue to bring you great content. So don't wait. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com now and check out the full collection. Thanks for listening, and we hope you'll show your support by grabbing some Ray Taylor Show merchandise today. And now, let's get back to the show. The case, whatever, kind of interesting, I guess. The employee involved, right? Not a very good worker, but the owner, very unlikable. I would have hated the owner. I'm a pretty pro-worker guy in general. I am very much biased against any worker versus employer situation. I am generally on the side of the worker regardless of what what they may have done wrong. Because I think far too often business owners and managers take little to no responsibility for the situations that employees have to deal with. And this owner of this business comes from money, right? She's the quote-unquote self-made person who used her parents' money to start her business. So I would have been instantly on his side, and I would have talked so much shit about the woman as well, the business owner. But, that's just my thoughts on what I would be doing. The idea that they would be sequestered, right, for a civil trial also kind of seems insane, right? Like, obviously, you've heard of situations like, I think the famous one was the O.J. Simpson trial where they were sequestered. That was definitely the time when, like, Pauly Shore came out with his movie Jury Duty that's all about jurors being sequestered. And I think that's kind of where that idea of juries being sequestered, it kind of went into the zeitgeist. But I don't know of many times where jurors have actually been sequestered. I don't know how common that is, especially for a civil case where it's people suing somebody. Like, even having a jury there at all doesn't seem like it would be a jury trial. But I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't work in that industry. But it was still set up way so I could still believe why. Like, they set it up good enough to where it's, like, plausible. Like, okay, I guess this is the situation. And I love that they did get an actor like James Marsden who's playing himself, or a version of himself. He's playing James Marsden in this, but it's definitely more of the douchebag actor version of James Marsden, I'm sure. So that's great. I would have instantly recognized Kurt Fox, who, like I said, he's an actor. He's been in Parks and Rec. He's the plumber guy that shared his dick pic with everybody. He's also the salvage yard guy in Reservation Dogs. He's also a stand-up comedian who I've seen on a bunch of podcasts. So would have recognized him just by his voice alone, but would have recognized him anyway. But the rest of them I didn't really recognize, but they're all great. And I can't believe how much they had to work to be in character the whole time, which I'm sure a lot of their characters are more based on just who they are. So as long as they just remember to follow the ideas and the scripts and things that are happening, there isn't as much acting going on, but still a lot of work and a lot of time. Like the guy Todd, who has connected bedrooms with Ronald, like was like on call 24/7. Like, I hope these actors got paid well, and the show's on Freevee, so who knows. And the first episode's great. You kind of get a little background on the actors as they're kind of setting up the premise and, you know, kind of getting to know who some of the people are and kind of the setup of everything. And then the last episode's really great because you get a lot more background and a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff as things are revealed to our main character. But overall, the show was a lot of fun to watch, very heartwarming, you know, restores your faith in humanity to one extent or another. I think Ronald, you know, really came out a massive hero in the show. But I do want to talk about spoilers. Do want to talk about specifics that I liked, disliked, or fond moments or whatever. So, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen the show. So, highly recommend checking it out. Jury Duty. It is on, obviously, Freevee, which if you have Amazon Prime, you'll have access to. But spoilers from here on out. So James Marsden plays himself, and it's really great how, like, a lot of them kind of meet each other as they're in the waiting room to be called in, right? That first, when you check in for jury duty the first time. The moment where Ronald first discovers who James Marsden is a lot of fun. Like, he's not very familiar with him, not familiar with the Sonic movie that he was in that he kind of talks shit about. It's like, I heard that was horrible. And then the next day he comes in, it's like, man, that movie was great. Like, it's fun to see Ronald's excitement when he realizes who James Marsden is and finding out that he's in one of his favorite movies, Sex Drive, which I thought was a fun movie. I don't really remember it that much, but I do remember it being fun. And he's playing more of a self-centered asshole, which is kind of fun. I'm sure was fun for him to do, right? Constantly bringing up this script that he's going to be a part of, Lone Pine. You know, I would have been giving him so much shit for all of that stuff. It's like, oh, Lone Pine? You dig a Lone Pine? And there's a moment where, like, sometimes they do group interviews with all of the jurors together, which are also fun because you get to see some of the actors who sit behind Ronald and get to you see them react to how he's reacting to things, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, him bringing up the script all the time. him taking a shit in Ronald's bathroom while they're running lines. I would have talked shit about that as well. I probably would have covered for him, though. Like, there's a lot of things I probably would have done. I'm a nice guy, but I still would have given him shit. And even getting to read lines with him, I think, would have been a fun thing to do, as Ronald does, helping him prepare for this Lone Pine thing. Todd is a great character, so awkward. The fact that he's next door to Ronald was so fun. I mean, clearly they're trying to set up, like, put the most potentially annoying character right next to Ronald, but Ronald just, like, he's so, like, welcoming and nice to everybody, and supportive. Like, he's super supportive with Todd and his very unique way about him, and his kind of passion for inventing and all that kind of stuff, whether it's the chair pants or the chip clip thing that he has, the knocking code for how they can communicate through the door. Very interesting. Todd and this other guy, what's his name? I wrote down Key. Is his name Key? I don't think it is. Ken. They both have, like, a very interesting way of talking, which, like, is fun to hear how they actually sound at the end of the series. And you also get to know about Ken's addiction to gambling, which is also another fun moment, another moment where you see how Ronald is such a nice guy, you know. Let's take a quick break from this episode because I want to promote. Are you looking for a way to take your love of The Ray Taylor Show to the next level? Look no further than Inspired Disorder Plus. As a member, you'll get access to a whole host of amazing perks, including the full week of shows, ad-free in both audio and video versions, a live painting archive, early access to the many faces, members-only discounts and deals, a podcast back catalog with over 600 episodes. But that's not all. As a member, you'll get access to my personal blog as well as my creative writing. You'll also get the chance to ask me anything you want. With all of these benefits and more, Inspired Disorder Plus is a must-have for any fan of The Ray Taylor Show. So don't wait. Go sign up now. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and start enjoying all of the amazing perks of the membership. And now, let's get back to the show. You also have Barbara, the old lady, was so fun, right? Falling asleep at one day while the trial is going on, and then taking an edible to stay awake that had sativa in it. Like, would have loved to share an edible with that old lady at the jury. I think that would be a fun if you're already on the jury and it's that trial is the trial you're watching. I think being on an edible would be a fun way to spice things up for sure. Herb not getting drunk when they go to Margaritaville and complains like, I've had 3 of these double margaritas, nothing's happened. Meanwhile, the other guy, Noah, is getting drunk. She would have been a lot of fun to share an edible with, and like, just knowing that both of us would be on an edible during that trial, there'd probably be a lot of laughter going on. A lot of laughter at the secret that we both have while this fake trial is going on. Which, of course, she probably didn't eat a real edible, and probably I wouldn't have gotten a real edible if I wanted to share one with her. But either way. Noah, great. Again, when you first see him, like, he's trying to hopefully not get called for jury duty because he's supposed to go to Cancun with his girlfriend or whatever, and trying to find ways to get out of it using the I'm racist excuse in like running with that idea that Ronald organically came up with, that they were kind of hoping he would come up with, is great. And then seeing the drama that he has with his girlfriend throughout the show, him getting drunk it's just like his arc was pretty fun. And then getting with the other actress, the other woman that's part of the jury, all that was done. Him going the loophole with soaking and then having to have somebody jump on the bed to provide the motion, so he's not really having sex, but it's like some loophole thing and the fact that they filmed that scene And he's like, James, please, less jumping, less height on the jumping. And then Jeannie is like, no, bigger jumps, James, bigger jumps. It's a great funny scene that is shot just for the show, not shot for Ronald. Like, Ronald never saw that until the end, probably. But again, Jeannie is great as well. The scene with her and Noah as she comes out, like when Ronald is trying to be the wingman for Noah, and she comes out wearing the bikini, and he's like all flustered, and Ronald has to he just kind of ditches Ronald, and how comfortable Ronald is to just talk to her is like he really wants to hang out with you, but he doesn't know how to do it. Great. So great. All of those scenes. And I was kind of surprised that how much was actually filmed that didn't involve Ronald, like the scene of the soaking, jumping on the bed scene. Obviously, there's interviews that the characters do in character that sometimes Ronald isn't even there. They have the whole group there. That's a lot of fun. So it's just a lot of stuff added to kind of fill out this show for the audience that's watching it at home. Right? Made it feel a lot more like The Office or Parks and Rec, but with one non-actor, which I would love. Like, it's going to be so interesting. I mean, obviously the show is called Jury Duty, so I would imagine if they do another season, it's going to be another jury. But it would be fun to apply this idea to different situations, which I guess the whole sequestering aspect of Jury Duty helps with the production of the show. But it would be fun to see a show like The Office where a new hire comes in, which would kind of suck, I guess, if you think you're getting a job. But, if you get through the show, like Ronald gets $100,000 at the end of this, like, kind of be compensated for thinking you're working. But it would be fun to see it branch off into other types of shows with this kind of same setup. Would be a lot of fun. Also funny, one of the actors at the beginning, when they're kind of choosing who's going to be on the jury, and one person, this old lady, she's like, I'm just really not into it, and she gets dismissed. It's like, oh, it's that easy? Hilarious. The bailiff is great as well. Like, everybody's so easygoing in the show. The only one really that's kind of bad or annoying at all is James Marsden, right? Because he's the self-centered douchebag actor guy. But everybody else, super cool. Last episode, I absolutely loved the reveal when the judge tells Ronald that everything is fake, and that, like, telling Ronald all of these situations they put him to, he was a good guy in every single situation, whether it was being neighbors with Todd, dealing with the shit, taking the blame for the shit, James Marsden shit, for dealing with the thing at Margaritaville, the racist Jorf shirt thing, like all of these situations, helping get everybody together to make the right decision of, whether this guy should be held liable or not. Like, just kind of laying out all of the ways in which Ronald handled every situation in the best way was so nice to see. Very heartwarming. And finding out that there's even a cash prize. Like, I didn't know watching this that he was going to get a cash prize. I don't know if that was part, like, if he hadn't been as good of a guy, if he wouldn't have got the $100,000. But it was an added bonus of, like, heartwarming that he did get $100,000. A ton of. I wonder how much the actors were like, wow, that's that would have been nice. Like, we actually did work. He just had to show up and be a nice guy. But great nonetheless. And the actual case, not the most, felt very much in the background, which was nice, the actual case that they were adjudicating. But it opened everything up in a way that, just watch all the different wacky scenarios happen, made it really good. Even Ronald, at moments, said that this is like a reality TV show. and like, or I need to make a movie based on this movie that you're making because these are wild things that are happening. Multiple moments seeing the actors react to how Ronald reacts or deals with situations was a lot of fun as well. But the show's great, lighthearted watch. It flies by. It's funny. It's heartwarming. The characters are all super unique and interesting. I had a lot of fun watching it. I hope they do more of this show. And it will be interesting to see what changes they make in the next season. If they get all new actors, if we see some of these actors coming back. It would be hilarious if Ronald got a cameo in the next show. That would be amazing. But yeah, watch it. It's amazing. Jury Duty. And I want to thank everybody for tuning into this episode of The Ray Taylor Show. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on the show Jury Duty. Don't forget to tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for more movie and TV show reviews, and join the conversation by leaving a comment or rating on your favorite podcast platform or over on youtube.com/inspired disorder. Until next time, enjoy the show.
New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.